Ant against Bridges to the free throw line. The lob to Rudy inside. He throws down his 6th alley-oop dunk of the season. Nicely found by Anthony Edwards. Here's Towns down the lane on Gobert. Got to the cup and packed it. Just a little up fake at the top of the key. That got Rudy off balance.
Good morning. Welcome to 9 to noon. Buffalo Wild Wings, Elk River tomorrow for the Friday football. Hope to see you there. The NBA is a league where load management and skipping games is en vogue. That was not the case last night at Madison Square Garden. You see, the Timberwolves and the Knicks met for some hot Wednesday night action. There it is. It basically was like this. In the league where load management and game skipping takes place all the time, last night was like, all right, we'll take our best and play your best. And let's see what's up. Or what's down in the case of the Howl. Brunson, Bridges, Anunoby, Robinson, Towns, and Hart off the bench versus DiVincenzo, Ant, Stifle, McDaniels, and Julius with Naz Reid off the bench. That's the best 6 those teams had to offer. And the Knickerbockers won by 23.
Oh my gosh. Above average at that.
They're only 8 games into the season. Only 8 games into the season. Everything's fine. Everything's okay. Fine. I mean, Ant needed one off the layoff there. And we had the rolling ball of butcher knives, Terrence Shannon Jr. He didn't play. I mean, everything's going to be fine, don't you think?
Yeah, I think everything's going to be okay eventually, except if we don't figure out this defensive situation, PA. And I'm not going to try and pretend that I invented the great Naismith game. However, I will say there's just a different vibe in terms of what Finchie is able to deploy, and just sustaining a defensive presence over the course of 48 minutes appears to be at this stage maybe an impossibility, as what we saw from OG last night doing his thing. And of course, Cat, you heard the highlight, 15 and a bunch for him. So, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I just wonder, of all the things we can talk about, like the Ant came back the very next day, we're glad to see Ant back. And Ant is the antithesis of load management. He's healthy, he's going to play, and we loved seeing him on the court. But maybe in the midst of all other talkers, how does Finchie replace what Nickeil Alexander-Walker brought off the bench, and just the aggressive defensive mentality that he provided in spots, and now he's making memories with the Hawks? And just part of that, only 8 games in. Yes, only 8 games in. Patience is required, but change potentially also required.
We led at halftime, and then allowed 83 second-half points, and it became an absolute laugher. Some context. Mitchell Robinson had 9 offensive rebounds.
Sheesh.
That tied Gobert, who had 9 total rebounds.
Oh my God.
In leading the Minnesota Timberwolves in rebounds.
Yeah.
Mitchell Robinson had 9. Minnesota was out-rebounded 50-31. So that means the Knicks consistently were more tenacious, boxed out markedly better, and cleaned the glass as if the game was sponsored by NY Squeegee LLC.
I always love that one.
Edwards needed one up the layoff.
He did.
Scored 15, failed to really impact the game. Went to the line just 3 times. We're only 8 into it. It's going to be okay. The next out should be better for the game changer. 9 to noon, nice run this week. Yeah, picked a good day to ask Parker Fox, who'd you rather have and why, Ant or Luka? On a night, Luka Doncic goes for 35, 9 rebounds, 13 assists, 5 steals, and was 13 of 17 from the line in a victory over Wemby. Wow. The old timings are really on point this week, Polly Wally. Take care, Polly Wally. And Carl Anthony Towns, beloved Cap, he was all up in his feelings after the game. Carl Anthony Towns, for whatever the reason, can't stop thinking about being peddled to the New York Knicks. Here's what he said after the game, quote, I'm still stunned. I'm still stunned. It's weird. I feel more like a Knick now after everything we went through last year, but it's weird to see that Wolves jersey, especially the fire black one, and not see Towns on the back of it.
Oh my gosh, you are above average at that.
Why is he so up in his feelings about something that took place a year and change ago, the con?
Well, I'll admit, just watching him, it's still different. It's still weird to me, right? You draft him, you raise him. He's here for 9 or 10 seasons, and now you see him on the other side of things. And there was a funny moment, too. I think he got dunked on, or Anthony got dunked on by Cat.
Yes.
It's like, I need a little help here. But there's like, you can tell that a brotherhood was established.
Yes.
And so maybe being up in his feels is a little easier after you handle things in the paint. You out-rebound a team by as many as you said.
19 overall.
Maybe it's easier to be up in your feels when you handle it the way you did. Maybe it'd be different if he was on the wrong side of the scoreline last night. But there's a little bit of feel. I don't know about you. When you were watching it last night, is there any part it's like, oh, yeah, that used to be our guy. We used to compensate him at a high level to dunk like that. Hey, that's right. We used to compensate him at a high level to hit those threes on a nightly basis. Maybe the Cat was just feeling it post-victory. It's like, those are my dogs over there. I hang out and I text and talk with those guys every summer. I kind of wish I went to camp with them.
Mother. Yeah.
Mother.
So that would be an L for today.
That wasn't good.
He's all up in his feelings.
He's all up in his feelings after a win.
Carl Anthony Towns, I'm still stunned. I'm still stunned. It's weird. I feel more like a Knick now after everything we went through last year, but it's weird to see that Wolves jersey, especially the fire black one. It's fire, black one of fire. And now see Towns on the back of it, and not see Towns on the back of it. Those Garnett jerseys, man, they fire. Later in his post-game interview session, Towns paused because he admitted he was going to refer to the Timberwolves as we, symbolizing the connection he feels with the franchise.
Whew.
We built something special there. It's different when you're in the process, and now you're going against the process. They're a great team. Might even be fire. To see what they're doing right now, special. And I expect nothing less than greatness from them. Well, now he's kind of wagging his finger at us a little bit.
He's talking down to us a little bit.
Talking down to us a little bit, but he is tall. To see what they're doing right now, special. And I expect nothing but greatness from them. It's always great when you see your brothers, Ant, becoming the face of the league. Me and Rudy, years and years of battles against each other, turning teammates, having a close bond. It was really good to compete against my brothers. It's deeper than basketball. It's family.
Whew.
Hey. All those quotes were fire.
He's totally condescending us.
Big time. I mean, seriously.
They're going to do something special over there. Oh, those kids. Cute,
they're
cute little face of the league.
In the analytical wherewithal of handling Carl Anthony Towns, the NBA, the Knicks, League Freak, or the Minnesota Timberwolves, there have been myriad things that have and will be said about Carl Anthony Towns. Can do this, can't do that, can't do that, can do this. One thing that never will be said is that he's not smart. He's a very smart individual. And he was talking to us like we're laughing, crying babies.
Yes, he was.
It's always great when you see your brothers, Ant becoming the face of the league. Me and Rudy, years and years of battles against each other, turning teammates, having a close bond. It was fire. It was really good to compete against my brothers.
It was fire.
It's deeper than basketball. It's family. Yeah, Friday football. Oh, jeez. So what triggered that, man? He competed against his brothers and made his brothers cry uncle.
The season can't end like that.
Meanwhile, the Howl is now 4-4 and hosts Utah tomorrow night. The Minnesota Timberwolves have lost 4 by an average of nearly 14 per game. Yeah. And that includes a 1-point loss to Luka. We lost to Luka one time by 1. Lost the other 3 by 1 million. All righty. How? Still Howl. Hashtag still Skull. Hashtag still Howl.
Yes, we're still howling.
Give me the best howl that you can howl in the history of the howl. Amen, brother. All right.
Oh, I'm out for 10 minutes after that.
All righty. Well, that's the average break time here in the first hour at FM 100.3 KFAN's.
Perfect time.
Which would be good news for the company if it were true, but you may have ample time. All righty, 9:12, good morning. The Wild R is at Carolina tonight. That's on KFAN at 6 o'clock. There's some red-hot Thursday night football action in Denver, ladies and gentlemen, with the sizzling Broncos taking on the ever-fading Raiders. And the Vikes host Baltimore Sunday at noon on KFAN. Next, Baltimore radio personality and overall bon vivant, Nestor Aparicio joins, and that's courtesy of TimberTech. And TimberTech.com, it's part of What's on Deck 9 to noon. Nordo produces, and I'm Paul Allen. A pleasant Thursday morning to you, wherever you may be taking in your audio leader for everything funky and fun, 9 to noon at FM 100.3 KFAN. We are your money-giving leader, and here they are.
The Fan, along with 2 men in a junk truck, want to give you a shot at some bonus bucks, national cash contest style. The keyword is win. Enter that at KFAN.com. You might win if you enter the keyword win at KFAN.com.
From long-time 9 to noon friend, Nestor Aparicio. He's with BaltimorePositive.com and AM 1570 WNST. And said Nestor joins us now. Nestor, welcome to 9 to noon. How long has BaltimorePositive.com been around, and what's your role?
Well, I own it, but I've owned a sports radio station here for 3 decades, and my wife was diagnosed with leukemia in 2014 and 15, and I sort of moved direction into talking about the city and the city's problems, not unlike your city's problems. So, we had issues here back during 15, 16, 17, and I just thought that I would expand my conversations. But, I heard your intro. You're having fun there. My show's more serious these days, which, I need to have more fun like you're doing, PA.
You didn't hear the first segment when we talked about the Timberwolves giving up 83 second-half points to the New York Knickerbockers, a team last night, Nestor, that did not include Clyde the Glide Frazier or Patrick Ewing. But I guess that's one way to look at it. Yes, we're having fun.
Well, no. Now, come on now. The Vikings, come on. It's been a good week, right? I mean, for you guys, at least, it's been a good 2 weeks for Ravens fans at 1-5. So the football, somebody's going to be disappointed on Sunday night, but both of these teams feel like they're moving in a more positive direction for Baltimore Positive, don't you think?
Yeah, BaltimorePositive.com, 9 to noon, Positive.com. Those forces meet and nothing but love comes out of it. So so Sunday noon KFAN. Nestor, forget game shape of like what's going to happen or details. All right. If the Ravens fall to 3-6, how surprised would you be?
Not, and I'm kind of shocked that they're a 4.5-point favorite. It really speaks to Lamar, and it speaks to how good they are with him, the numbers against NFC teams that they sort of have gone on the road and freight trained in past years. I just haven't seen that team yet this year, right? So I think we've seen little spits and spurts of it, but, Lamar hasn't played a whole lot. Patrick Carr didn't play a whole lot. The left tackle situation's been problematic for them. They've blown a lot of leads, big leads over the last couple of years. Some of the guys like Marlon Humphrey, Roquan Smith have been, sort of questioned as to where they are in their career versus their salary. But the last 2 weeks, putting the band back together again, feeling good. They're a big favorite. They play the Cleveland Browns next week and then the New York Jets.
Hey.
So it does feel like there's, 2 more victims on the slate after this week, but this feels a lot more serious to me, having witnessed what the Vikings did in Detroit and laying that tape out for the Ravens and saying this might be a different football team than maybe the team we saw 2 or 3 weeks ago with a really injured Carson Wentz, and saying, how are the Vikings going to manage their quarterback situation? It looked pretty good to me last week. So I think this is formidable for the Ravens to go on the road and maybe beating a team that's perceived as being good with a defense and Van Ginkel back and a little bit more full strength on your side, and doing it in, for my money, the toughest place in the league to play. I mean, I think you're building this real hornet's nest for any team because of the noise and all of that, to see how Lamar can make that work. They go in and they actually cover the spread and win impressively and don't make mistakes and don't have false starts and types of things that they've had in the past, and they can show they can run the ball. I mean, PA, the real problem here has been along the line on both sides. I mean, they're just not winning battles at the line of scrimmage. They're not winning in the trenches, and a lot of folks thought they might have been in on Quinnen Williams, but that price got kind of steep once Jarrett got involved, and it didn't materialize. They wound up picking up Draymond Jones to get after the quarterback. They've had real pass rush problems here. So running the ball, stopping the run, pretty, two tenets of, old school football. They haven't done that as well as they have in the past, not even with Derrick Henry. So I'm still waiting for this thing to look like the race car, the 13-14 win team that it can't be, but to look like that kind of team, or round into being that kind of team. Because at the end of the year, they got New England, they got 2 games with Pittsburgh, 2 games with Cincinnati. They have to go to Green Bay. I mean, they have really tough games. Picking up a 6th loss, it would mean there's no more rope for them the rest of the year, really.
Nestor Aparicio, let me ask you a question about WNST and BaltimorePositive.com, and it's off something you said from the outset of our chat. All right, so you got the Orioles and you got the Ravens, and you got BaltimorePositive.com. WNST, as I've known for years from knowing you, is we never stop talking, and then that would be Baltimore sports. Yet you said, Paul, you and the Con are having a great time. Boy, it's great to have a great time and come out of a break and say, can I get some bass? And then you hear boo-doo-doo-doo, boo-doo-doo, boo-doo-doo-doo. And you're like, we're always so serious here at BaltimorePositive.com. What do you mean by that? What do you mean you're so serious?
Oh, I don't play like rock and roll anymore. I mean, I enjoy rock and roll, but even though my hair's longer than it used to be, I don't have sound effects in my show. I used to have like a sound effect opening beer. I used to have like movie lines. You know what I mean? Like, what in the wide world of sports is going on here? Just things like that would, I could insult a caller who was out of his mind by playing like a cuckoo say. I did things. My show was more morning fun type afternoon sports radio back in the 90s and at the turn of the century. So, I just evolved from that. So I just don't do that kind of thing. But, I get to talk about other things and social ills and issues and fixing the world and feeding the world and the community. And, I talk to musicians and I talk to all sorts of people, but I just don't have the kind of radio fun that a washed up radio jock of 35 years like myself would like to participate in, even a big booming FM mic with stereo. I don't have that.
I understand that, and that was very, very well explained. But BaltimorePositive.com is a wonderful concept. Likewise for 1570 WNST, and you're a wonderful talent, Nestor Aparicio, and I'm glad we were able to lay out the metaphorical therapeutic Davenport of love so you can get that off your chest. That was beautiful.
Well, I just don't take phone calls from people and yell back and forth, and you know what I mean, and have to take breaks for traffic and weather and top of the hour flat. I mean, I did all of that stuff. Now I just sit and talk to people. And when it's over, I stop talking like I did with you on my show this week, which I hope people can go and enjoy too, because we always learn a lot more about you, especially when you do the horse racing thing, dude. Like, that's what I mean about the show being fun, when you do that kind of thing, you know?
Mm-hmm. Like, and they're racing Nestor Aparicio. Oh, something's gone amiss with Nestor Aparicio. He's been pulled right out of the race at WNST. You mean that? Hey,
I've been called lame for a long time, brother. Believe me.
Better than being called a gelding. Hey, now, so no movie drops with BaltimorePositive.com. And you mentioned a point spread. Ravens favored by like 4.
Why don't you give me half the money you were going to bet? Then we'll go out back, I'll kick you in the nuts, and we'll call it a day.
You mean like stuff like that?
Yeah, exactly. Stuff that just made somebody drive off the side of the road somewhere in, Medina or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I want. That's the kind of radio I long to do. So it's fun to be on your show.
Watching Lamar every game, should Ravens fans be absolutely overjoyed that he's their quarterback?
Oh, absolutely, because he gives them a chance to win. And I think the real X factor for him is go ask every DC in the league how they feel about having to prepare for him and the type of talent they need, not just scheme, but the type of discipline that it takes to stop him when he's healthy and has all the moving parts. Part of that is, and you'll see this on Sunday, especially when you're scolding, that first down, I've never seen anything like it, PA. I mean, first down here for about 6 or 7 years was an automatic 7 or 8 yard down.
Hey.
I mean, they were in 2nd and 1, 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3, or just getting to the sticks with a 12-yard run on first down. I mean, they didn't punt around here, right? They had a kicker who, besides all of these transgressions that, I could do a whole segment on that, and I've done plenty on that, on Justin Tucker, who I'm sure will be entering the league again next week. But they had a kicker that could kick a 60-yard field goal at any point. And with the quarterback that they have and the offensive scheme that they run, especially when they had Marshall Yanda and a really healthy young stud Ronnie Stanley, that they could at any point run the football and make you really weak in the knees with the RPO. I haven't seen as much of that. I mean, I haven't seen as much of that Lamar to Derrick Henry, and we're going to break your ankles, and we're going to figure out who's got the ball, where it's going, and it might be going over your head to Bateman, it might be going over your head to Mark Andrews, whatever it is. We have not seen that kind of efficiency here from this team in moving the football up and down the field and playing ping pong the way they did for years. And part of that's really been first down. And they've struggled to be in a better second down, right? 2nd and 1 and 2nd and 2 is a lot different than 2nd and 12 or 2nd and 9. And then all of a sudden there's an incomplete pass or something goes wrong. Lamar's got to dirt the ball. Now you're in 3rd and long. And it's just a different game for them in pass drop situations. This offensive line's not built to do that. It's not built to be in 3rd and long. Most offensive lines are not built to be in 3rd and long. If you're built to be in 3rd and long, you're built to be in last place. And this team here has had more struggles with being in those situations. And, also red zone stuff it should feel automatic when you have a quarterback that can glide and can get to the sticks and is really a matchup problem that makes you play 11 on 11 instead of 11 on 10 in tight spaces. We always thought it would be automatic that Lamar from inside the 5-yard line, who could stop it? Nobody can stop it. Plenty of teams have stopped it over the course of time, and it's like anything else. They've sort of caught up a little bit, but this is a real measurement for me, PA, because these were the games that prime Lamar, and he still might very well be in his prime. He's kind of ripped off of an MVP last year. Prime Lamar and prime Ravens offense could go into any building, anytime, especially NFC buildings where they didn't have prep time or didn't have the right personnel or even the right philosophy to play it, and be embarrassed. And that hasn't happened as much lately. And I mean, as a Ravens fan, you want to see that happen again, because when it happens against Cleveland or the Jets, it doesn't really count, especially the Jets at this point, right? So finding their way and looking like a double-digit win football team, which is what they're going to need to be. And I said Pittsburgh and Cincinnati are in their way. I mean, they're rounding into this, start the season all over again. That's what you do when you're 1-5. You say, we're going to start the season all over again this week. But to your point, they take on a 6th loss with the schedule they have to think that they're going to run the table or be able to count past 8 or 9. That's going to be really tough to do.
Next on the menu for the Minnesota Vikings, the Baltimore Ravens.
Sneak peek at next week
with Nestor Aparicio, BaltimorePositive.com, BaltimorePositive.com. I did chat with Nestor yesterday. That's available at BaltimorePositive.com if you'd like to watch. And it's part of 1570 WNST. Hey, Nestor, how long have you known Bob Hagan, and how did you guys meet?
Just a rock and roll dude. You know what I mean? Just Bob's always at the Super Bowl. I did 27 Super Bowls. I think that might be how I know you. So I did my show on Radio Row for a long, long time. Actually, my first Super Bowl ever was in Minnesota in '92, the famous Thurman Thomas game. But I think I met Bob 15 years ago, but he was a guy I saw for years before that, because when you check in to get your media credentials, you sort of meet all the PR directors from the league because they're working their tails off allegedly during Super Bowl week. So you get to know people around the league. And I've always traveled with the Ravens. And I did throw Bob a note this week, and I'll throw it to you, and I'll say this publicly for anyone listening. And if you ever have anyone that rates press box food, you know what I mean? You get a Ross Tucker on your show or that kind of guy whom I know well. To me, Vikings press box food, of all the things of not coming on the road anymore with the team and not really being allowed to cover the team on the inside, you can Google that as well. I miss the food. So to me, this is the one trip where you're being in the media contingent for the buffet really would have been very desirable. That and a trip to Paisley Park with you to play some hoops.
Bob Hagan, don't leave home without him.
Time for two more.
What was I know you're a concert aficionado, as you just mentioned. What was Eagles at the Sphere in Las Vegas like?
It was really good. I saw U2 at the Sphere a couple years ago from the floor. And was real close to the band, but like the sky part of the what you're there for, that sort of planetarium immersion. I actually sat up in the upper deck right in the middle for the Eagles. So it was a much more immersive kind of cool thing. I would say I kind of like the Eagles and U2 equally. I love them both. They're different kinds of shows. The Eagles thing for me was very seated. Right? Like I sat the entire 2.5 hours, where the U2 thing, I danced and moved around while the screen moved around. So two completely different things, but it's a wonderful venue. I had people that have told me they saw The Wizard of Oz there, and various movies and stuff like that, interactive, but highly recommend the Sphere. Don't pay full price. That's my, that would be my first advice for any cut. Don't pay full price.
Two things.
Like you guys when you were getting those $20 McCartney tickets 2 weeks ago. Good for you.
Two things here with involving the word combine. A, 9 to noon, yours truly in Nordo misses you at the NFL Scouting Combine. Second part, why don't you go to the Combine anymore?
Well, the Combine was a great place to do business, get to meet people. It's a lot of drinking. It's in Indianapolis, which is, I'm from Baltimore, right? I'm a football fan. I'm of that age. Ursay, enough said. So I didn't love going to Indianapolis. Of all the cities with little hobbits, I like yours better, but yours is way colder. But where they have the little hobbit cages that go building to building. So Indianapolis has that too. But I did a dozen of them, and it was a deteriorating proposition in regard to agents, athletes, access. My radio show, when they put our radio booth in the backside of hell around the corner down underneath the Indianapolis, wherever it was, where nobody wanted to come and do the show, then we just said, why are we here? Other than drinking and eating, which, come on, it's Indianapolis. You can get a steak anywhere.
Yeah, I get that. Time for two more. How little do people in the DMV region care about the Washington Wizards? How little do they care about the Wiz?
Well, I'm in Baltimore, man. So people would tell you the DMV really means like sort of Washington's suburbs, kind of, sort of. Mm-hmm. And they would call Baltimoreans like the outsiders that we are. I can tell you this, from a Baltimore perspective, they were Baltimore's team, right? Obviously the Baltimore Bullets. So I grew up with all that Big E and my dad and Wes Unseld and Wes lived in Baltimore until the day he died. On the southwest side of Baltimore, even though he was the Washington Bullets coach and Washington Wizards GM and all of that with Abe Poland. But they've kind of quit on Baltimore. I mean, if you really want, the truth, I mean, Ted Leonsis at one point saw Baltimore as the Fort Worth of Washington, right? Or as the St. Paul of Washington. Very, very much that's not true. You know what I mean? Like, he promised me that when the Capitals won the Cup, he'd bring the Cup to Baltimore. They never brought the Cup to Baltimore. He brought the Wizards to Baltimore for a training camp, like at Towson, to practice a little bit, shoot around. And then they tried charging people $150 for tickets for a New Orleans Hornets, shoot around August preseason game or whatever, and people didn't come, and then that was the end. They played 2 hockey games in Baltimore. Barry Trotz was a part of. The Nashville Predators played, and the Boston Bruins played in Baltimore, and the Baltimore, at that time, Royal Farms Arena, but if you've ever been to Baltimore, you would call it the Civic Center. It's been refurbished. It's beautiful for concerts now. It's a part of my childhood where I went to the circus and minor league hockey and all of that stuff. That he's quit on Baltimore. The TV ratings would reflect that from the Caps. I mean, the Caps have some impact in Baltimore, but I mean, like, I know all 40 of the fans. They've been on my bus trips down to games, So it's 38 miles that separates the city, but ideologically, the Wizards are like, I mean, I don't know that they're a factor in D.C., but certainly not in Baltimore. They haven't done anything marketing-wise, and I mean anything, like a billboard, just anything you'd even see out in the community in any way. They haven't done anything like that in a decade. So, I mean, and again, he tried to move the team to Virginia. He's got bigger fish to fry. He's trying to figure out the baseball team and his lousy television network that I don't watch anymore, and just all of that kind of thing. So I'm not anti-DC maybe the way I was as a kid as a Baltimorean, where it would be like a rivalry thing, how we felt about the former R-named team with the politically incorrect logo for all the years with Jack Kent Cook and all that. We had real angst about that when we were kept out of the league, after the Colts had left town. But I'm not anti-Washington. They don't do anything to inspire anybody in their own market. They certainly don't do anything in Baltimore. They really don't.
Okay, lastly, you said something about the offensive and defensive lines of your beloved Ravens. Well, I mean, I'm looking at this offensive line from left to right. I mean, they're long, they're strong, and they're looking to get it on. I'm talking Ronnie Stanley, Andrew Voorhees, Tyler Linderbaum, former Gopher Daniel Faalele, and right tackle Roger Rosengarten. What's wrong with those guys, Nestor?
Well, you're Mr. Combine and Mr. Draft Guy. All of those guys sounded great on draft day, right? I mean, Ronnie Stanley was, we had Jonathan Ogden here. We also had your guy Bryant McKinney here. Without him, we wouldn't have won a Super Bowl. But Ronnie Stanley was trending in that Hall of Very Good the first 3 years, which is why he got the big contract. I mean, if you look up his injury history and what he's been through, it's heroic. I mean, it's amazing that he got back on the field. He played as well as he did last year, and they gave him a 3-year deal. Other teams wanted him. But you got a $20 million left tackle who right now it's questionable as to whether he's healthy, whether he can play. Their backup is a guy named Joseph Noteboom, who, when he plays, it's a massive drop-off. It's below the bar at left tackle. Voorhees has been a disappointment. The combination of Voorhees and Faalele is such a big guard, built different. They drafted this guy, Ben Cleveland, years ago, and have been waiting around. He had some the field issues last off season. The guard plays really affect Linderbaum, and what they're really trying to do in the pocket with Lamar and keeping him in the pocket, he's gotten sacked more than I ever thought he could possibly be sacked, right? Like, when you see Lamar Jackson getting sacked 4, 5, 6 times, like, what's wrong with him? What's wrong with the line? What's wrong with the scheme? How is that happening? But defenses have trapped them, and part of that has been that this line hasn't been good enough. Rosengarten, been second-round draft pick out of Washington, fine, but hasn't been. It's the low light of the team. It's not, the low light of the team is really in the pass rush and the defense in general, which was 32nd in the league, a month into the season, right? So that, and they're still trying to dig out from underneath of that. But not being able to run the ball and go up and down the field the way they have in the past. And even when they do, the defense is, they're going to wind up winning 38 to 37 games to some degree because they're going to score. I mean, they're a good enough offense to overcome that. But getting Lamar sacked, being at that bad down in distances, going on fourth down and not making it, right? I mean, Harbaugh's kind of famous for that, right? Anywhere from the 40-yard line, those turnovers of the ball, and not necessarily turnovers. Lamar's been Lamar's been Hall of Fame responsible with the football since he's been drafted. I mean, that's one thing with him is he feels worse than anybody else when he throws a pick or drops the ball or gets stripped or whatever. You can physically see that it's hard. He's hard on himself. But he doesn't make those mistakes often. That's not my concern. My concern is just, where are you on first down? What are you trying to do, and can you be successful doing it? And that's going to involve the offensive line. I haven't seen enough of that consistently to feel good about it.
Nestor, you're fantastic. Have a wonderful day. Best of luck with BaltimorePositive.com, and let's stay in touch, all right?
Meeting adjourned. All questions are done, but I do love your sound effects, brother. I'm jelly.
Appreciate you, and I'm sure you can find some sound effects. Here we go, Paul! If you really worked hard enough, all right?
It's just not part of my act anymore, but I miss it. I really do.
See you, bud.
See you, bud.
What just happened?
It's Nestor.
I mean,
it's the Nestor experience.
Nestor Aparicio joins us now, BaltimorePositive.com, AM 1570, WNST. Nestor, BaltimorePositive.com is relatively new. What's your role in it? I own it.
I always love that one.
What about the radio station 1570 WNST? Well, I own that too.
Yeah. I always love that one.
Damn.
And I think that might lead into the whole. He referenced it that he doesn't have a credential to jump into the building and handle some Ravens related topics.
Well, he's an elite Ravens mind though.
Well, since we've known him, man, I mean, you want to talk about grinder, whether it was the radio station, it's the website.
Oh, yeah.
Dude's been doing his own thing, beat of own drum, etc. for 30 freaking years.
Grinding.
I love Nestor.
So do I. Thank you, Nestor. Vikes Bites are next.
Fan.
Yes!
Welcome back. It's Vikes Bites. Vikes Bites! Brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. And you can shop online. Box of Meat shows up at your doorstep. Local Kowalski's, local co-ops, local Coburns, and they're proud sponsors of Gophers Athletics. You keep hearing the word local? Well, it's a Minnesota company. That's why. Clearwater, Minnesota's finest. We're not going to be too far away. We're going to be up Elk River Way off 94 tomorrow for the Friday football feast. But nutrient-dense beef, appreciate you, Thousand Hills. I got some audio for you, and we're going to start with the head coach, Kevin O'Connell, yesterday addressing the media. And this just kind of popped in my head, like, are you kidding me, man? How about a freaking home game? Thank
Very
goodness.
Important week for our team coming back home. We're talking a lot about, now that we know some of the things that it takes for this year's team to win football games, how we play all three phases. Now it's about consistency and, showing up at US Bank Stadium against a really good team on Sunday and performing the way we need to win.
Part of, talking about a muddy NFC, talking about this team, divisions not out of reach, keep winning your division games. How about winning your home games? Because it just pops in my head, PA. It's November. We've only played at US Bank Stadium 3 times, and the team's 1-2, losing to the Falcons in primetime, losing to the Eagles close, of course, the beatdown over the Bengals. But how nice is it? 5 of the final 9, PA, are going to be in our own comfy confines starting this Sunday.
Well, it's nice overall to go Sunday noon, then Sam. Sunday noon, then Sam. It's nice to settle into a routine for players and coaches who crave routine. So I've heard that a lot over the last week and change. It resonated. It must matter something to the Covenant. Great to be home against a Ravens team that I'm starting to deep dive that thing now to get ready for the game call. And defense over the last 3 games been a little different than the first 5 games. Not exactly sure why, but we'll have that all squared away by Sunday. But it's not that defense that was giving up 31.5 points when the team was 1-5, though.
Vikes Bites. Yeah, and the quarterback we're going to face on Sunday, he's a little different, too. He can get off schedule, right, Coach?
Just playing the initial snap is going to be hard enough. The scheme that they run, and it's very well coached, and they're very physical. Playing the snap itself is the starting point. Then the next play starts when things do go off schedule. And we've played against some guys this year who have hurt us, whether it's internally getting up and out of the pocket where, you got to look at the tape and say, was our rush plan as disciplined as it needs to be versus a quarterback that can hurt you? And if you're going to turn the rush loose, do you have to have somebody accounting for that quarterback?
Which means contain.
To me, it's about disruption, and it's about getting him off the spot. And then it's the player that gets him off the spot is more than likely not going to be able to always make the play. So who's the next guy there? And was there discipline in making sure you corral and keep him in the area that you have to, because he can change a game?
The crazy thing about this game, and you're going to dig into it, whether it's defensively and as they've gotten healthier, maybe this defense a little better than what the Vikings or any fan would have noticed 5-6 weeks ago. But even from an offensive perspective, is there an element of weathering the storm here, PA? Because it just feels like it doesn't feel like the Vikings are going to beat them 40-6. We're going to be watching this game on Sunday. Lamar is going to make a badass play. One of those tight ends is going to find his way loose or into some sort of cushy spot in the zone. Derrick Henry, runs it at a high level. He might find his way for a 22-yard rumble to match his jersey. It kind of feels like this is a weathering the storm game because you can't keep the MVP down all day. You just got to keep them down long enough to let our guys do their thing.
Like it, because there's nuance, or there are things established early in the game that teams are setting up for later in the game. And that requires weathering the storm or accepting a jab to your face, knowing you avoided the roundhouse.
Yeah.
And that has a lot to do with Lamar, has a lot to do with in-game, on-bench film study, where they're getting play after play after play. In fact, the Lions last week, Burchich brought this up, and he was absolutely right after watching the game back. The Lions had a 3rd and super long, might have been 3rd and 17, and they threw this weak little, just soft pass left, I think, to Montgomery, knowing we're probably not going to get the first down here with the way this thing's crafted.
Yeah.
Well, they were setting something up for later. Same formation, Jamison Williams on the other side. They were trying to get deep to Jamison off the same look. We saw that before. We know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But Jamison stumbled at the line of scrimmage. And it ended up being a fat L for the Lions offense.
The other part of that, too, though, is on those 3rd and longs, it feels like the kiddies, they're always playing it like the opportunity for 2. So they get you that slant. There were a couple in that game, whether it was Amon-Ra, maybe it was Khalif, I forget who got. It was a 3rd and super long, and then you're thinking just hold them and they're going to punt. Mm-hmm. But then they get 14 yards on the 3rd down, and now you're sweating, his team's good enough to go for it. The setups and the mind games with some of these teams, it's unreal.
Yeah, that's very well stated. And the Ravens are not as adept, or they don't have a propensity to chance it on 4th down the way the Motor City Kitties do. But they set little things up early in the game with read options and Lamar and the play action, and Lamar the designed 4-yard run where it's going to look the same in the 3rd or 4th quarter.
Yeah.
You're going to get somebody to bite on it, and there's Andrews uncovered middle of the field. It's that term that you invented a couple of days ago at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center that I like. It's the cat and mouse game.
Oh.
It's the whole cat and mouse game that makes up the National Football League.
Vikes Bites!
Vikes Bites.
One more from the coach before we hear from the QB. He's listening to Van Ginkel style in the locker room.
We had way more snaps with Andrew Van Ginkel on the field where all 11 guys did their jobs and knew exactly what the call was. So he provides so many layers of things to our defense that allows Flo to be who he wants to be as a play caller. Gink helps everybody else around him, not only himself, play at a high level. So it's impactful for sure.
The Gink is on fire.
It's Van Ginkel style. Even the coach could feel that Van Ginkel returning last week was a big deal, and you've mentioned it. Grenard, Van Ginkel, and number 5-1 Blake Cashman mattering as they do to this defense. I heard a little scuttlebutt from the play, and I don't know if there's specific audio or a quote, and maybe I just need to dig deeper and find it. But they were kind of talking the last couple of days about that hit that you noticed, Khalif Raymond.
It was a big side practice talker yesterday.
Yeah, and the replay itself is still kind of cool, the type of player Van Ginkel is. He just gets completely laid out by Khalif, still gets up and makes the tackle on Gibbs to end that play.
Yeah.
So it was a brilliant, I mean, it ended well, but there was some frustration. I think even the idea, the quote, dirty, the word dirty was being thrown around a bit.
The Gink is on fire, felt it was a dirty hit. I believe it was Theo Jackson or Joshua Metellus. There were a couple who were like, that's uncalled for.
Yeah.
That's a dirty hit. Okay, well, I mean, I don't know if it was a dirty hit, okay? Here comes Khalif Raymond, right side of the formation. Wide receiver goes in motion. Think of the Gink is on fire in his patented left edge spot, which would be the front side of the quarterback. Van Ginkel does not see him coming. And Khalif Raymond, as Van Ginkel was rushing, absolutely obliterated him.
He did.
And he hit him in the side of his upper body, okay? Now, here's the conversation I had with somebody on the side of practice yesterday. Dan Campbell pushing the envelope, okay? Relatively early in the game. I think that was relatively early in the game. Hey, that guy 43, it's pretty important to your defense. We know he's missed five-ish games. We just want to make sure he's all squared away physically.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll check that box and move on. It's a pushing the envelope nature that most, if not all of them do. The fact that Raymond caught Van Ginkel off guard does not make it dirty.
Yeah.
As the letter of the law goes with blindsiding somebody like that, I can't go down that road because I don't know the letter of the law. So if it was an egregious hit, if it was an illegal hit, if it indeed was a dirty hit per the illegality of it, not the perception, well, that's one thing. The other side of it is in a tightly contested division where teams are scratching and surviving for any little morsel they can get.
Right.
Dan Campbell pushed the envelope to make sure one of your previously hurt players, who's incredibly important, just want to make sure everything's all squared away here, because Van Ginkel's neck did snap. And when he hit the ground, he hit it face first and really hard, courtesy of little Khalif Raymond. So it bears following the next time these two teams meet.
Yeah, it's a good point. I don't know what the legal aspect of it is. If it is truly a blindside block, should have been flagged. I mean, Lieber, he's going to be in studio next. He said during the Power Trip Morning Show, he brought up the name Hines Ward, which leads me down the road of, remember all those times upfield, he would lay out a linebacker, he would lay out a corner, specifically in run defense or even to support maybe another wide receiver, like the physical aspect of the game. But if roles were reversed, I don't know how mad we'd be. It's like, oh, Aiden Hutchinson, he's missed 5 or 6 games. And maybe Thielen, he's looking for more than 4 snaps a game. Maybe Thielen comes in right off the snap and just gives him a little chip. Well, just to see if 97's all right.
That's the physical, actually bodies colliding part of the equation of pushing the envelope. Yeah, I mentioned this a couple of years ago whenever we had the 49ers on Monday Night Football early in the season. It was that game, Charvarius Ward took one from Addison, then Addison took one back from Charvarius Ward.
Yeah.
So we had no Jefferson. But their linebacker, their best pass covering linebacker, or at least one of the two, Dre Greenlaw, hadn't played in a month. So 7 of the first 8 of the first 9 plays were passing plays in the area of Dre Greenlaw. Why? We just want to make sure you can run.
Yeah.
I mean...
he couldn't, by the way.
And he couldn't. All right, so we're going to come at you in this injury, this play after play after play after play after play, because we want to... You're off the injury report, man. You're in the game. We want to make sure you're all squared away. That stuff happens all the time.
Vikes Bites, let's get to Lieber, but maybe during News to Nord, I did have some audio from J.J. McCarthy in my back pocket that we can get to at some point during 9 to noon.
Ben Lieber, Nacho Lieber, joins 9 to noon around the corner into the middle portion of the program at FM 100.3 KFAN.